to Sidebar Sessions. Happy New Year. We're so glad to be back with you for our first live broadcast of the year. For those of you who it might be your first time joining us, we're the Sweet Tea Gems. I am Chiffon Quarter, and I am here with my Ma Dukes. Wave your hand.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
This is Cassandra McCarty. So I'm going to take a moment to pin this post and share it. And we will get started in just a minute. Mom, how was your day?
It was good. I was gonna say busy, but productive. Productive. That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, I got things done that I needed to do and that I wanted to do. So it was good. And it was refreshing after our wing ding inauguration yesterday. So it was nice to wake up
Yes.
different. How was your
It was a good day. Again, like you, busy but productive. Just trying to get into a groove. Um, with this new year, trying to implement some new practices. Like this morning, I did work out, got some cardio in, and I'm trying to just kind of get my life together.
yeah? Same here. I'm trying to organize, and I know that's a big thing in the new year, but I really have to. I really have to, especially my where I work, my home office. It's paper. If I contain the paper, I would be okay. I mean, it's just, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I promise you, I am.
You will, because it's necessary.
I could be more productive if I did that and I didn't have to look for stuff for 15, 20 minutes because it's everywhere.
That is so true. One of my favorite phrases is that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Just
And
I
it's
like
something. Say what, Mom?
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. You start working on something, you have to stop, you have to look for things for 5 minutes, you stop and look for something else.
Mhm.
You've wasted 15 minutes of your time before you
This is
know it. So
true. This is true before you even know it.
it's frustrating. So
Yes. I will do better.
we'll both do better. This is the time of year most people begin to get organized. You start seeing it in the stores and all of that.
Yeah. This is true. This is true. But I want a system that I know that's gonna work for me and that it's gonna last. So I'm going to do that.
Absolutely. So let's get into our um, topic tonight, bouncing back from trial to triumph.
Yeah.
So, this has been a very trying 12 months for a lot of people. We've had everything from the fallout from the coronavirus, people getting sick, people losing loved ones,
Mhm.
people struggling with employment and just figuring out what to do with their children. And
Mhm.
then the country has been, in a state of turmoil. But as you mentioned earlier, that yesterday we had the turning over of a new leaf, and we are beginning to bounce back. It's funny. I keep reading this title from Trial to Trump.
Oh, how ironic. You mm, mm,
Oh man, from Trump to Triumph.
to the trial. Okay.
But we're gonna be talking tonight about um how we have personally faced adversity in our lives, as I'm sure you all have, but we'll share our testimonies of some of the things we've been through, how we got through to this point, and hopefully be able to encourage you in your road back from whatever trial you're facing.
Sure. Yes.
So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you're watching, please be sure to share this broadcast. Let some people know that we're on. We'd love for you to comment and talk back to us as we discuss this topic. If you've got anything you want to share, anything you want to ask, please feel free to drop that down in the comments. We'll be watching that as we chat tonight.
Yes.
So let's get into it. Mom, in your illustrious life, what would you discuss?
That illustrious.
Illustrious. In your illustrious life, what do you feel is like the toughest ordeal you have faced?
Oh wow. The you know, as you say, in my illustrious life, but it's kind of hard to just say one in particular. You don't live a life and don't have some trials. I mean, if you show me a person and you tell me, then that you an anomaly or something, spectacular miracle. But I guess if I had to say I'll say one of the toughest. It's not necessarily the toughest, but one of the toughest. It was at the beginning of my career when my first job out of college, or the first, not necessarily just that job, but that period of time. We were married at that time, of course, but your dad was in the Army, and so I was in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. That's where I had my first job out of college, and your dad was in Kentucky. And shortly thereafter, not shortly thereafter, I'll say during that time, I was expecting you. And also I was in grad school. So I had full-time job, expecting you, in grad school, and your dad was away. Put all that together. That was probably one of the toughest times of my life. I was struggling in all of the areas, struggling at work, struggling in school, trying to, keep up, my energy at home or what have you. And I would pretty much come home every night and just cry, because it was just such a trying time. And I was like, something's got to give. And of course, that wasn't going to be the marriage, and it wasn't going to be job, because we needed both incomes. And so it ended up being school. And so, I learned, I guess we'll get into that in a minute, but that was probably my toughest time, because I was trying to juggle so much. I was young, first time parent, first time, first child, like I said, didn't have your dad's full-time support. He would come home on weekends, because Fort Knox and Columbus wasn't a big distance. It was about 3 hours. But of course, 3 hours is 3 hours. And he had to be on base. And so during the week, I was on my own. And it was very, very difficult. And in grad school at that time, it was kicking my butt. Didn't have a whole lot of support at work and what I was doing, and the type of work I was doing, didn't really enjoy it. That was kicking my butt. And just the hormones going through of being pregnant. And and so that was probably my toughest, one of my toughest times. And I was young, so I didn't have a whole lot of management and coping skills, as far as I'll say, first time actually being on my own for that, just permanent, and then living away from home. So, you got all of that going on no support system as far as family, and it was difficult. It was difficult.
So so you are on this path for the first time in your life, going through kind of a personal wilderness, you would say.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. It's a good way to say it. Mhm.
So how did you see your way through, or what was kind of the turning point for you in that situation?
Well, as I was starting to say, when I started failing at all of it,
Hmm.
no, and I'll back it up. As far as mm, I'll say school and work or whatever in my past, I I kind of breezed through. And not saying I'm just, super anything like that, but it did not come hard for me. And I was able to, excel in school and excel, in this area and excel here. So this is kind of the first time I've actually had a real challenge and I was failing.
Hmm.
And if you are a I don't consider myself a perfectionist, but I am a person that has high expectations. And if you think it's going to be a certain way, and you have put this picture in your head of the way you think your life is going to go, and then all of a sudden it's taking all this 360 turn and it is not looking at all like what you thought, then you have to start backing up and take an evaluation. It's like, okay, none of this is working. Something's got to give. And like I said, I looked at all those areas, and the one place I knew that I could take this cut or break or whatever needed to be was school. And I realized I could not do it all. And that was kind of the turning point. It was like you got to get low before you can go high. And so I kind of just hit kind of the rock bottom where I was like, I can't take it anymore. And that was the turning point. It's like, okay, you're not doing well in any of this. So what you gonna do?
Hmm.
You And so, yeah.
I heard a couple things in what you said. It sounds like you got to a place where you got clear with yourself, or became honest with yourself about where you were and what was realistic for
Mhm,
you.
mhm,
Um, and as my husband would always say, the way up is down. It had to have taken a level of humility,
mhm,
you know. I too, I don't consider myself a perfectionist or necessarily an overachiever, but the bar I set for myself is high. So
mhm,
I kind of see myself in some of what you said at the juncture that I'm in at this point in my life.
mhm. Okay.
So I hear you in trying to, make those personal assessments
Mhm,
about where you are and
mhm.
what's realistic for you, and to not feel. How did you keep from absorbing that failure?
Now, this is where the personality, I guess, that I have also helps me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm not necessarily a perfectionist, but I'm like you. I do set the bar high for myself. But at the same time, I've always been able to, at some point, wherever I am in my life, no matter how tough it is, to realize that it can get better and not sweat the thing. I guess just not let it overwhelm me. Even though
Mm-hmm.
I was, had enough, but I wasn't up under the water. You know how you might be, the water might be just where you can,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I was. And that was like my balm, and I'm also able to remain calm.
Mm-hmm.
Even, people won't know, or I ain't gonna say I'm not gonna say they won't, but most of the people don't know when I am very stressed. I am able to not necessarily hold it in, but just able to kind of manage it, so to speak. Um, so that has helped me, as the type of personality I have. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I don't. I don't
Mhm.
internalize a lot of things. Put it like that. Put it like that. If when I do get to a point like that, I'm going to let it go some sort of way. I'm not going to just keep holding and holding and holding and holding and holding. And so maybe that's how I didn't let it just I didn't take it personally. Yeah, because you asked how did I not let that be a saying that it was, let that failure that, I realized, okay, this is just one part of my life, and I can pick this back up again if I want to, especially in the school. If I desire to go back, I'll go back later or what have you. I didn't see that as the end of the world because
Mhm.
I saw me continuing in this path as the end.
Mhm.
So it's like, which one you gonna pick
Hmm.
or later, so to speak. And so that's how I looked at that, that this is just a temporary situation. And but you got to do something now. And so, that's how I did it.
So you mentioned something even there about how you find ways to let things go. Like, what are your outlets?
I've always been a prayerful person.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm always praying about everything. And so that's my first defense, offense, or whatever you want to call it. And then, family. So, I did rely on your dad a lot, even though he wasn't present, but I was able to call and talk and stuff. And then when he was at home, I shared with him and he would listen or what have you. So that helped a whole lot. Um, and reading, you know, um, like for instance, when I would come home, after one of those tough days or what have you, then relaxing is a big thing for me, and I like to sleep. And so, the key is you have to find things that help you to manage stress. Or your body will react in a whole lot of different ways, and your mind. So, reading, relaxing, and just sharing with family, what have you. Those are the things that give me joy and help me to relieve stress or whatever. I think the word I always tell you, compartmentalize. And that's what I would do. I would try in my best to shut it off. When I came home or what have you, whether that was after school, after work or whatever, I tried to shut it off.
Wow.
Because if I did not, that was going to just, pretty much drive me insane, and there would be no break from it. And so I would try mentally shut it off and just, okay, that's over. This day is done. It was terrible. It was horrible, but it's done. And so let me, and then I would always say, today is another day. It's a new day. Let's try it again. And so that's how I tried to manage that. Didn't always work, but it was, it helped get me through that time.
I love that. I always, when I was going through a very stressful period in my career, um, where, my colleagues would be working, 10, 12-hour days. They get up and I would go to bed and I would wake up with emails from people from in the middle of the night. It was terrible. I learned to just wake up and thank God that every day is new and that the day I just had will never come again.
That's exactly the way I would look at it. This is over. That's not going to happen. Let's start all over again. And that's what hope is.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you have to be hopeful for the next day or the next moment that it will be better. Because what's the alternative? You know, it just dreading every moment and then letting it just suck the life out of you. So yeah, you have to try as best you can to remain hopeful. And like I said, that's not always possible, or it doesn't always, it's not a cookie cutter or one size fit all, but it's definitely something that, helped me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So once you pulled yourself kind of up and said, this is what it's going to be like, how did you get out of that situation? What was next for you?
Um, that's when, I like I said, once I realized that I couldn't do it all and I let school go, one change leads to another,
Mm.
and one decision leads to another. So when I said, okay, now I don't have school, so that was a breather.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you were going to come regardless. And so that was a big change and a big blessing. So, I did. So now I've got kind of two things kind of gone, not, over, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
School is not on my back, and now you're in the world. And so I started to look at my career then and look at what I was doing and say, are you happy? Why are you still doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so, or why are you still here or whatever. And that's when I started looking at other opportunities and other jobs or what have you. And so that led to a whole nother change. And so yeah, I think when you make like you say, it's kind of like a process. When you first see where you are and be real honest with yourself and saying, this is it. I either don't like it, don't, for whatever reason, it's not working, or, whatever. When you get that honest with yourself, then you can start looking at where you can eliminate or cut some stress or whatever it is that is, you know, hindering you. Then once you do that, it kind of opens your mind up to new things then. You're a little refreshed, you're a little renewed, and you can begin to see a little clearer the path. It's almost like cleaning up your house of junk. You clean up one area, and then you're like, ooh, I can that looks dirty over there. Let me start cleaning that. Before you know it, you clean up the entire house, or you have to make a path.
Yes.
If it's really whole, you got to clean the way out so that you can see the rest of the way. And so, yes, what I did was one change led to another. It led to me changing, uh, not necessarily careers. I still was doing some of the same, but the type of work I was doing that I enjoyed more. We moved back to Mississippi. It was a catalyst, you know. And so yeah, when you get the courage, it's almost fear. Fear too was and still I struggle with fear. It's probably my nemesis. And so once you can move past your fears, then you're able to make some better decisions, or so I don't know if that really answers.
It did, and it kind of brought me to another question that I was going to ask you. What weaknesses and strengths did you identify in yourself because of this?
It's so ironic you said that, because one of my notes was that that time helped me to prioritize my life, and it showed me my strengths and my weaknesses. So you're right on point. Um, Weaknesses, I'll get kind of, they were fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. One was fear. Um, that I had realistic expectations, and yeah, it's something else, but I can't think right now. But
That's all right.
strengths was that I could handle more than I thought I could. You never know what you can handle until you're under pressure. Even though it was, like I said, I did get to a breaking point, but it was still a lot before I got there, and it prepared me for motherhood. It prepared me for life. It helped me to be a better wife. All those things that later on that, there will always be other challenges. That's not the first and it won't be the last. But, I was like, okay, if I could do that, then I can do this. And so my strength, decision making, one of my strengths. Not, I say this, it's a catch-22. I can analyze and make a good decision. It takes me a long time to do that. I will overanalyze to make the good decision. So, it's a strength and a weakness. It's a good one that I can analyze and because that's how my brain works. Which one is that, left or right? The one that always
I think that's the left.
Because I love numbers and all that. I like finite things. I like, hey.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I'll also dig it and dig it and dig it and dig it. And sometimes, you've wasted time. Sometimes you got to just go ahead and do it. So that's a strength and a weakness altogether.
So all in all, hindsight being 2020, a lot of years have passed since then.
Yeah, lots of years, because I was like 24, 23, 23.
Had to have been at least 33 years ago.
Telling my age.
Well, you said you were pregnant with me. I'm telling my age. What you talking about?
Okay, I'm 56, people, and love it.
That's right. That's right. So hindsight being 2020, how did it shape you as a person? What did you take from that experience?
I think my phrase that I always would tell you, you can do it all, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
Don't put more on your plate than you can chew. These are just adages.
Yes.
Something mom always says, this too shall pass. Nothing stays the same. It's not the end of the world if you fail. Yeah, just all of that. All of that.
Mm-hmm.
Those things that I still live by today. So yeah. So saying that, since I've analyzed and dissected my toughest or worst ordeal, how about you?
Oh man. Oh, there are several that come to mind. It's interesting. Yes, hindsight is very 2020. When you're in the middle of something, it always feels like the worst ordeal until you get on the other side of it and you can compare it to other stuff.
Exactly. It may not be the worst.
It may very well not be. But I would have to say, the 10 years I worked in corporate America, if I had to pick one, because I've had other ordeals where I was extraordinarily depressed. That was a couple of dark episodes in my life. Times when I've been extremely cash strapped, times when I've been extremely lonely. But the corporate experience is probably the all-encompassing umbrella of so many rubber bands in a ball. Okay, so that has to have been the worst saga of my life.
It's interesting you said, cash strapped or whatever. Definitely been through all of those. But sometimes those are things that, that if I can just, save a little bit or get a better job, you can kind of control. And those things that are out of your control, or, or things that, like you said, that are rubber band that encompass so many other areas of life, and making those fall apart too, that tends to rank up there high.
It ranks, okay? It ranks.
It ranks. So saying that then, how did you get through that period of your life?
Lots of prayer and lots of hope. I got into corporate America. I can't remember if I've mentioned this on this channel, but I got into corporate America by accident. My degree is actually in music and business. And when I graduated from college, the economy tanked. This was in the middle of 2008. So, me and all of my friends in various fields and industries were putting in applications, competing for entry level jobs with people who had 20 years of experience. So it's like everybody's going to work at Starbucks and
Mhm.
Walmart. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, you have just completed this degree and done your due diligence and you end up without a job.
Right.
And so, and the music industry is extremely competitive for a lot of reasons.
Mhm.
But I ended up moving here to Nashville, and me being me, you know, you gotta keep your lights on. I'm not a trust fund baby. You gotta go to work if you want to eat. So I took a temp job and I started working in the insurance industry. And the person that I was temping for ended up not coming back. And that started a 10-year saga in the insurance industry. And it was like the lobster that gets put in the water and you don't know how hot it is until it is boiling.
Mhm.
I never intended to stay that long. It was supposed to be a detour on the way back to doing something creative, but you kind of dig yourself a little bit of a hole. And I'm of the mind I may not be here permanently, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep letting them promote me. I'm gonna keep getting raises
Mhm.
until I can't anymore, at least for the time that I'm here. So I ended up establishing my life or whatever here in the insurance industry. And I was grateful for, you know, I had to tell myself every day, I'm grateful to be employed. I had
Mhm.
great managers. I was blessed with great colleagues. I just hated what I was doing. And it was extraordinarily stressful, like to the point that early in my career, I would catch myself pulling all of my hair out. I had a palm size hole in my fro.
Mhm.
It was that bad. So, and then being here, I was almost 500 miles from home, and I did not know anybody here in Nashville. I would go months at a time without somebody hugging me, you know, little things like that that you miss after a while. And when I first started working, I was making enough money to take care of myself, but I wasn't like making enough money to like really enjoy my life,
Mhm.
or um I wasn't making enough money to make steps toward my exit from
Exactly.
this path.
Okay.
And that is when I began to feel stuck,
Mhm.
which is kind of the hardest part of any juncture of your life. It's easy to have hope
Right.
when you can see something else. It's
That's
hard to have hope when you don't know if things will ever get any better.
yeah. It's kind of like, it says, well, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but what if there's just darkness that you see? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I say to that, not to skip too far ahead, but it's like being in a cave with a flashlight. You're not gonna see what's on the other end of that light because the light only reaches so far.
That's
But
right.
if you keep walking, then you see more of what's on the other end and more of what's on the other end and more of that until you can see your way to the outside.
Exactly. Well, let me ask you the same question you asked me. What was your turning point or your aha moment that, you know, facilitated change in your life?
One thing that gave me a little bit of hope is when I began to start singing again.
Hmm.
I graduated from college in '08, and I didn't do really any singing, any serious singing until 2015.
Hmm.
I took a very long hiatus, and One thing that something like that does, the more you do less of what you love or what you actually do well, the less confidence you have. And that lack of confidence also kills some of your hope a little bit,
True.
because it's like, man, I'll never be good enough at it to do anything else with my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I started singing again. I started picking up creative outlets that, I knew that at some point I could spin into something else. And then in 2017, I started my blog. And that's when I began to feel like, okay, I can start digging my way out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I left my first job and started working another job where I got to work from home.
All right.
And so the change of environment helped me a lot. And then the change, like there were certain things that were almost impossible for me to do while I was physically attached to a desk in somebody else's building.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some opportunities I could take. I could start taking voice lessons. I could start, I joined a band and all this kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
when I was working from home. I had a little bit more flexibility. So
Mm-hmm.
I could start making some sort of, inroads
Mm-hmm.
towards something else.
That's almost, kind of like what we were saying, that change facilitated another change.
Mm-hmm.
And start doing what you love, even in the midst of what you're going on in your life. Find something that you love to do, or like you
Yes.
said, you do well, because everybody has to have a stress reliever or an outlet. And that tends to open up again your mind, clear your vision, your way. And from what I heard you saying, then it's almost in steps. Then that led you to working from home, still maybe doing the same thing that you were doing, but it was in a different environment, which, and like you said, gave you more time to do those creative things that you love to do, and eventually would lead you to the full-time things that you're doing now. So uh, um awesome. So how did that period of time shape you as a person?
Oh man. Oh man.
What did you learn that you're using now?
A lot of different things. Um, I will say that the things that I had been through prior to this shaped me for this particular time. I think it's important to note that. But I learned, of course, perseverance. I learned to live in the until. There is a place between where you started when you get in the thick of a problem or a situation like this that just seems insurmountable. There's the until, because you can't see the end of it, but until you get there, how are you going to manage your life? How are you going to manage your emotions? And I learned to live in that place the best I could, and to find joy where I could, and to make joy where I could. When you can't find it organically, sometimes you have to make it, you know, you have to bring that to a situation. And to also trust God that there is a purpose for that season.
Yes, and that is a good one. Um, things don't just happen if you're a believer by circumstance. It happens.
Yes.
And if you are remaining and this will lead to our next, what if things don't change? You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you are in that until state or however long, and we don't ever know, because that's God has his own time and or his own purpose for why you're in where you're in. And so what do you do?
Right.
Because time is still marching on. So are you just letting life dictate the joy? And I do realize I don't ever want to placate, or because there are situations that, you know, it's feels, and it is, you know, in your reality, insurmountable.
Right.
So I don't want to say, you know, oh, you just pray about it, and you know, and God is just gonna, you know, it's just gonna all be okay. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that at some point, when the grief leaves, or the fog clears, or whatever, you know, that you're beginning to start to feel a little life, then start living it. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I hear you in that, because you can only control what you can control. I think I learned that from you. And it's easy to let life run you, you know, in your emotions, but you have to be in charge of the parts of that you can. Start with an attitude of gratitude. If things don't change, or you're sitting in that until they
Mm-hmm.
do,
Mm-hmm.
you have to find something to be grateful for in that moment. And even if we don't understand the purpose, know that there is one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all things give thanks, you know, and again, I've written a few notes, and you pretty much jumped to me. I learned to manage what you can control, let go of what you can't, be flexible and adaptable to change. A lot of times, like I said, we'll get where we, you know, thought life was going to be a certain way or what have you, and we're not willing to try new things or step out, or what have you. You know, it, this is life. And it's a roller coaster, and
Mhm.
it's ever changing. And so if you're so static and so rigid, then you know, you never really get the benefit of living.
Mhm.
um so you know, that's some of the things I would say, you know, to help manage. Or what if things don't change, or what if they don't change immediately, or it's years, you know,
Right.
literally years. Then, like, I like what you said, you have to, sometimes you can't find the joy in the situation, but you got to make the joy. And it could be little things. Sometimes that's all you can find. It is,
Mhm.
you know, wake up, you open your eyes, and you say, you know, Lord, this is the day you have made. I will rejoice and be glad.
Absolutely.
It may not be anything else that day, but that's enough. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know, and then tomorrow, God open your eyes again, do it all over again. And the more you do that, you know, I can attest that the more you speak positivity into a situation, the better you feel about the situation. Even if your eyes laying on it and it's looking the same, if you can speak positive into it, your perspective will begin to change. And later on, eventually, it might change, or you'll see it different, you know.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's you have to do a lot.
Yes.
This is life. Again, I can't say that enough. You know, I used to tell y'all, you little tight. Life is hard. It is not fair. Because it's not, okay. When you get that and be honest with yourself too, you'll be all right. You'll be half the battle. This ain't no fairy tale, you know. But it can be good. It can have its good moments, its positive moments, its joyful moments. And you know, you can't bog yourself down with the bad stuff, and then you forget and don't realize that the good stuff right in front of you, and you let that mess go pass you by because you stuck.
Right.
Not too short for that. A too short.
And you have to kind of adopt a now what
Mhm.
attitude, you know. So I think it's important to be honest with ourselves about what's going on.
Exactly.
Because that's how you discover what you can change.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
but once you get to that point where you've been honest about the situation, you have somewhat accepted that this is where we are now. Now what? Because wallowing in the reality, a harsh reality is not going to move you or the situation forward. It's like you realize you're on the interstate and you're lost. Do you just pull over and sit there on the side of the road forever and ever? No. Okay, we realize we're lost.
yeah.
Now what?
What? Yeah, yeah, it is something. It is. Well, maybe we've answered this question, but in a way, how did you stay encouraged during that
Mhm.
time? Just really, because sometimes you do need just that push to just literally get up the next day or literally push forward to the next moment, place, thing, whatever.
Um, One thing, like I said, making the joy, like, and understanding that there was a purpose. Like, I noticed that, in my coworkers, some of them I was ministering to and didn't know it.
Mhm.
People were looking to me for certain things in my soft skills. Forget about anything that I could offer in terms of business acumen.
Mhm.
There were people who would just call me to hear my voice or call me because they needed something from in here, just
Mhm.
on the opposite side of the phone. I mean, people that I have still never laid eyes on to
Mhm.
this day. Um, and you draw upon that and know that what you're doing has some meaning.
Mhm.
It helps it to be okay to be there for that time. Again, understanding that no matter how bad the day was, this day will never, ever, ever, ever come again. And tomorrow is a new one.
Mhm.
Knowing that this too shall pass, nothing is ever permanent. Even if it ends in death, it's not permanent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's those things, those last two things, like I said before, that kept me encouraged, knowing that it was, another day, that this one was over, another one was coming, nothing stays the same, um, and that it was going to get better. I just believed. You have to believe. You do, you know. Like you said, even unto death, you still have to believe because life without belief and hope, it's that's a that's depressing, and
Yes.
that's where depression sets in. So and then I want to mention too, surrounding yourself with positive people, you know
Yes.
people that can speak into your life, because there are times when you can get so low you don't
Mm-hmm.
energy or the word, I mean, or the whatever in you to do it for yourself.
The will.
A will, that's it, to do it for yourself. And when you got, godly people praying for you, with you, and will actually, give you a call, or if they're close enough, come over or whatever, dig you out, you know, um, yeah, those things help. They all, sometimes you gotta have it all.
Yes.
Depending on what
Yes.
the situation is and where you are and what's going on in your life. But it's possible to come out. It's possible to come out.
And I'll say that gratitude thing helped me a lot
Okay.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would literally be on my job and I would recite, I'm glad to be employed. I'm glad to be employed. Or Friday would come, thank you, Jesus, for a paycheck.
Well,
Small victories.
where that goes with be thankful in all things. Give
Yes.
thanks for all things, because there's something. You're right. I have a job. I could not be employed.
And I've been there before.
Exactly
So,
right. If you've been, I would do the same thing. Hey, I'm working. I have a job, and so you still, there's something to be thankful for. And if you're waking up every day, that means he still has a purpose for your life.
That's right.
So be thankful for that. Okay, Lord, I'm still here. So you just keep asking him, okay, what's my purpose?
Yes.
Keep asking, because you had a key. Once you do find your purpose, it helps you to continue to walk. That gives you that hope, and for you, like you were saying, it's the joy you bring to others, it's the compassion, it's the word. So that was going to be no matter where you were.
Right.
And so you brought that, and so you realize, okay, I'm here for someone else. Someone else needs to hear my voice. Someone else needs to, be encouraged through me. And so until you release me, then I'm going to keep doing what I do.
Because nothing breeds discontentment, at least in me, than the feeling of waste. Like, as long as I felt like I was wasting my time and that I am suffering for nothing, that's when I'm like, I'm hopeless. This is terrible. But finding those moments to at least know there's a reason for this helps you to manage until you get your deliverance, so to speak.
That is so true, because it's if you don't if it's key really to keep asking God why, not necessarily why are you going through, but what is your purpose for me going through?
What is it for?
What is it for? Because it's nothing like feeling I'm just this pain I'm going through has no benefit, and of course, sometimes there are times you won't know that benefit until you've gone through it. Now, I will say that. But I always say, ask God. It's up to him to tell you yes, no, or maybe. But he always said, come to him. So continue to ask him, Lord, what's my purpose in this? Show me. And in his goodness and graciousness, he'll do it. He'll do it. And will help you to, to go a little bit further.
And you know what? For those of us who believe, we should be doing that anyway, because it should be driving what we do. So
exactly. So if you get in the habit of doing that before you're into a trial, then that helps you to start hearing God more too. So you will already trained yourself. So when you are in that trial, you'll hear him just as clear. He'll tell you, okay, this is why you're going through this. So people, believers, especially, I ain't gonna say especially, if you're not a believer, this is seeking.
Yes.
Come to him. Okay. If you are a believer, start seeking what the purpose of your life is now. And so that you will know and something that you can operate in on a daily basis, because when the trial comes, that may be all you have. Okay. But it'll be enough. It'll be more than enough.
Shucks. It might be just simply to build something in you. Not to jump on the anchor scripture because I know it's coming, but the purpose may not be to necessarily get you to the next place. It could not even be for the next person. It might be the shaping and the chiseling process on you for what's next.
That is so true. That is so true. Just getting you strong. What's the song? Stronger, better, and wiser.
Yes.
For whatever is next in your life, and prepare you to handle some good things. It doesn't always have to be preparing you for the bad. Can get you. Sometimes you got to go through that to get you ready so that you can, be ready for the good stuff, be able to be wiser with it, a good steward over it or whatever. So you're right. It's first for us, I believe anyway, internally to build our character, to build us. Then we can give to other people, because, got to be strong in here before we can give it to somebody else.
Asterisk, there's a great song about that called He's Preparing Me by Daryl Coley that speaks directly to what you just said.
Okay. Yeah, but I do know that song, but I hadn't thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, maybe we've dealt with where do we go from here?
I will just say this to anybody who had a hard year last year or
Yeah,
this year,
yeah,
to not lose heart, to keep hope,
yeah,
to understand that all of this in some way, shape, or fashion is temporary, and it's not a waste. It's not
yeah.
for nothing, and we're praying for you
Definitely,
and
definitely.
thinking about everybody that's going through something. Know that you're not alone.
Mhm. Mhm.
um Whether not just in the human form, you are not alone, because there is God who is with you and can be with you during that time. So hang on. Make joy where you can't find it. Be grateful. Meditate on all that is pure and good and lovely.
Yes, yes, yes. Philippians 4:8. That's one of mine too. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but
You
yeah,
will have peace.
yeah, at peace. Yes, that's it. But I concur with everything you say. Um, don't give up. Just keep trusting, keep believing, and like you said, never realize you're never alone. You're never alone, and it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay.
Hmm. Hmm. So you want to tackle the anchor verse, Mom?
Well, okay. Our anchor verse is Romans 5:1-5, and I'm going to read it. Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we boast in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame,
Hmm.
because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. And pretty much like, what Shafran said, our sufferings, first of all, are temporary, whether they end here or after. They are temporary. But they are building something in us. They are building that perseverance, that character that leads to hope. So again, trust that nothing you're going through is in vain. It definitely has a purpose, and it's temporary.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, we just want to thank you all for coming on with us tonight. I want to thank Katina for tuning in. And I see a couple more people popping in and off. But I hope that you guys will share this in
Yes,
hopes that it'll encourage somebody that's going through
yes.
right now. We'll also be posting this replay to YouTube, if there's anyone who is not on social media. So definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. We are back on schedule to do a session every other week. We pre-tape to YouTube for the first session of the month, but
Mhm.
we'll be live here first the third Thursday of every month. So on February the 4th, we'll be live premiering to YouTube. Friends, how
Friends,
many of us have them?
them. Let's be friends. Dun, 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 dun. How many of
Of
us?
us have them.
Let's be
Friends,
friends.
ones we can
We can
depend
depend
on.
on.
So we will be live premiering to YouTube, Friends, how many of us have them, on February the 4th. And then we will be live here later on the month with some special guests talking about looking for love. Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Looking for love. We like to have fun too, people. Let's lighten it up. We don't, we got to end on a happy note.
We got to make the joy. We got to make the joy,
people.
So we would love to see you back here. Subscribe. Also, like and follow us here on Facebook on the Sweet Tea Gems Facebook page for more updates and contents throughout the week. Or you can subscribe to us on Instagram. All of our handles are the same, Sweet Tea Gems. So we love you all. Be encouraged, and we will see you on February the 4th. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.